voted on as one block vote, but I would ask if there's any member of the body who would like to have items 1 through 4 removed for regular agenda consideration. Hearing none, is there any member of the public here who would like to have any of those 4 items removed from consent to regular? Seeing none, Mr. Corley, please read the items.
Item number 1 is the approval of the minutes from the October 13th, 2022 work session and the October 17th, 2022 meeting. Resolution number 6866-23 authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to execute an agreement with the state of Alabama, acting by and through the Alabama Department of Transportation, for the complete removal and new installation and operation and maintenance of traffic control signals at the intersection of U.S. Highway 31, and authorize the execution of any and all documents to effectuate such agreement. Resolution 686723 authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to execute an agreement with Scripta Insights, Inc. to provide analysis of pharmacy claims associated with the health insurance plan. Resolution 686823 amends the budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, as shown on Exhibit A to the resolution.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. We'll now move to the regular agenda, beginning with item number 5, Resolution 686923. Mr. Corley.
This resolution authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to execute a preliminary engineering, right-of-way, utility, and construction agreement with the state of Alabama, acting by and through the Alabama Department of Transportation for a federal aid project for a new interchange on Interstate 459 near mile marker number 9, including auxiliary lanes from the new interchange to exit 10, bridges over I-459, and ramp bridges over the railroad in the city of Hoover.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 6869-23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any questions or comments from members of the body? Any comments from members of the public tonight? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item number 6, ordinance number 23-2588. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance authorizes the annexation of property located at 3989 Lorna Road and 3993 Lorna Road in the city of Hoover, Alabama.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 23-2588.
Second.
We have a motion and second for adoption of the ordinance. Any questions or comments from the body? Any comments tonight from members of the public? This does constitute a public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak at the public hearing? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. We have a motion and second for adoption of the ordinance. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Ms. Driver? Aye. Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye. With a vote of 5 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. We'll now have first readings for items 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Mr. Martin, I believe we will call you up for some of these, so if you'll be making your way, beginning with item number 7, Resolution 6865-23, Mr. Corley.
This resolution declares a weed and other vegetation nuisance and directs the abatement of such nuisance pursuant to Alabama law at 3416 Cedar Crest Circle. Property is, public hearing is set for January 17th, 2023.
Yes, Mr. President, I actually went to this property personally this afternoon and took this photo, so it is still in bad shape and certainly in need of declaration of a nuisance.
Very good. We will gather again on January 17th for a public hearing and possible remediation of that issue. Item number 8 is a resolution 6863-23. Mr. Corley.
This resolution grants conditional use approval for an automobile washing facility to be located at 3441 Morgan Road with the conditions listed on Exhibit 2 to the resolution. A public hearing is set for January 17th, 2023.
Mr. Martin.
Only thing I have to report is that the Planning Commission did bring a favorable recommendation to this body with a couple of conditions included in Exhibit 2. One being that the facade is to be designed with materials and color scheme to match the anchor store in keeping with the development agreement. The plans and elevations that were submitted with the application do not match the overall development. And it's not really even close at this point. So before any permits would be issued, they would have to do considerable work to match the rest of the development and be in keeping with the development agreement. The second item, development of the parcel to include its own stormwater detention facility should the engineer find the master stormwater system for the development incapable of handling the stormwater from this site properly. Thus far, and we had some discussion at the Planning Commission level regarding this. We have received complaints from property owners downhill from the shopping center of some stormwater issues. So it does not look like the overall system is handling all of the stormwater properly. And so I know engineering's been in contact to try to get that issue remedied.
Very good. Are there any questions tonight for Mr. Martin on that item from members of the body? If not, we will come back on the 17th and hold a public hearing for that item. Hearing none, we will move to item number 9, which will be an ordinance 23-2590 for rezoning. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance authorizes rezoning 2011 Oak Lane, Hoover, Alabama, from Hoover R1 to RLSF, or Legacy Single Family District. A public hearing set for January 17th, 2023.
Yes, Mr. President. The property owner wishes to take advantage of the Legacy Single Family Residential District for its advantageous setbacks, particularly with regard to front porches and having a covered front porch. The Planning Commission has a favorable recommendation for this rezoning. The comprehensive plan does support the low-density single-family residential development in the area.
Very good. We'll gather again on 17th to hear that case again and for a potential vote. Item number 10 is an ordinance 23-2589. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance authorizes rezoning 613 Sanders Road and 2421 Savoy Street in Hoover, Alabama, from Hoover R1 Single Family Residential to Hoover PRD, or Planned Residential Development District, with the conditions listed on Exhibit B. A public hearing is set for September 17th, 2023.
Yes, sir. The Planning Commission comes with a favorable recommendation on this item that the rezoning be approved with the condition that it be developed in substantial conformity with the development plan submitted. Of course, that is a requirement of the PRD district that development follow a site development plan.
Very good. And then finally, item 11 is Resolution 6864-23. Mr. Corley.
This resolution grants conditional use approval for the property located at 613 Sanders Road and 2421 Savoy Street for utilization of the property as a venue for public and private events, with the conditions listed on Exhibit 2 to the resolution. A public hearing is set for January 17th, 2023.
Mr. Martin.
Mr. President, the zoning ordinance does permit in a PRD zoning district the ability to have community venues on the site. And as indicated on the site development plan with the application, the applicant would like to turn the barn that exists on the site into a community venue, as well as some of the open space with a trail circumnavigating the barn and much of the open space. In addition to that, he's proposing the addition of an open-air pavilion along with restrooms and a meeting room, and the parking necessary to accommodate events at this site. Some of the events included in the description of the property's functionality include things like weddings, community gatherings, such as art shows, Christmas special events on the site, birthdays, and the like. The Planning Commission has a favorable recommendation on this conditional use should the property be rezoned. And the conditions included in that recommendation include that any of the outdoor events would need to follow the zoning ordinance prescriptions and regulations related to the same as far as hours are concerned, and that only one event take place at a time. And that is due to the parking calculations that were utilized in developing the parking plan for this venue. They took the capacity of the largest venue on site, that being the barn, and planning accordingly. So we have 68 parking spaces that are on an impervious improved surface, and there's overflow parking in gravel and grassy areas. This plan and this particular method of handling the parking actually comes recommended from staff, including planning and engineering. In our opinion, the parking as shown on the master plan would accommodate the largest events, should that condition be enforced, that no more than one event take place at a time. And secondly, I think it is appropriate that we not overdo it on the impervious surface in this area, given some of the drainage issues we've had downstream.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation. That item will likewise be considered January 17th with a public hearing followed by a potential vote. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
All right.
That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. I would ask if there's any members tonight who have a comment tonight. Very well. Any member of the public here tonight like to speak? Seeing none. 14 minutes flat. We're adjourned.